is. I'm sorry. I'm doing it. I'm not hesitating. I want to be very, very clear. Not only because he's great, not only because he's a phenomenal player and a phenomenal talent, but also he's your best chance to acquire somebody, if not this summer, next summer, to join him. Have a bird in the hand for the 2020-21 season. That's what I would do if I'm the New York Knicks, without hesitation. But the big loser in all of this right now, thus far, is the Boston Celtics. Al Horford made $28.9 million last season, is expected to hit the free agent market, obviously, this summer. He's going to be entertaining his options. Kyrie Irving making $20 million this past season. He's finally in line to sign a big contract. He was drafted by Cleveland, re-upped with Cleveland, ultimately traded to Boston. This is the first time Kyrie Irving has really been a free agent. We heard Brooklyn. I think if you're Kyrie Irving, you should reconsider. We heard Brooklyn. We heard New York. I think if you're Kyrie Irving, you should reconsider. Imagine if Kyrie was in L.A. with LeBron and Anthony Davis. But if you're the Lakers, guess what? If you don't have to spend that money on a marquee player. Chris Middleton is going to hit the free agent market this summer. Good look at him. Derrick Rose is available. You got some other supplementary parts that you could add out there to buffer your roster. You don't have to use those dollars on one max player. You could get a couple of players, if not a few players, to surround LeBron and AD with. They're great enough to make that work for them. I think the Lakers are going to the finals. I think the Lakers may win the championship next year. Matter of fact, they're my favorites to win it all. Not the Clippers if Kawhi comes. Not the Raptors if Kawhi stays. If I'm Philadelphia, I'm sick to my stomach. Because if they had won that game 7, if Ben Simmons had any kind of a jump shot, if Kawhi Leonard had to have 3 bounces to get in the winning shot, Sixers could have won the title. Because I think they would have beaten Milwaukee. I really do. And with Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson both going down, I mean, can you be more snake bitten than that? Have anybody considered what the Golden State Warriors went through the last week of the season? So you got a minority owner that gets in there with Kyle Lowry. You got Jay-Z and Beyonce courtside and the cult that follows and worships the ground Beyonce walks on is threatening Joe Lacob's wife, the owner for the Warriors. Because Beyonce appeared to give us some kind of salty look. First of all, I don't know if Beyonce's capable of looking salty. That's just me. I'm talking to the wrong man. She's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And she's just a sweetheart of a person. I don't know how salty she could look, but if that's what you want to label it as, so be it. Then after that happened, KD goes down. And in the very next game, Klay goes down. And these ain't injuries that keep you out to heal in the off season. Oh, no, these are injuries that take up the entire following year, arguably. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. But let me get back to Boston. Here's the reason why I tell you worse off season. Because nobody seems to want to come to Boston. You're about to lose 2 starters, 2 all-star caliber players, and a champion in Kyrie Irving. And what you have as the cornerstones for your franchise is Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart. And you want to put Gordon Hayward up in there, you go ahead, be my guest. He's making $32.7 million next season. I guess that's a legitimate reason to do it. But I'm here to tell you, I hope he's considerably better than he was last year. And for some reason, I don't understand why. Listen, we all respect Danny Ainge. But isn't it time to point the finger in his direction? He's considered one of the astute executives in this game. But other than the heist they pulled off at the Brooklyn Nets, which, by the way, wasn't Billy King, it was Russian owner Prokhorov making Billy King give up all of those picks to acquire KG and Paul Pierce. My mentality is very, very simple. You're the Boston Celtics led by Danny Ainge. Other than the gift that Kevin McHale, your buddy and former teammate with the Boston Celtics when both of you were players, gave you as the executive of the Minnesota Timberwolves when he gave you KG to pair with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. What exactly is it that Danny Ainge has done? The Brooklyn trade, okay, give him credit for that. And that gave you Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, essentially. All right, that's fine. But in terms of free agency, Al Horford is the only bona fide free agent, and Gordon Hayward. I guess I could be fair, but I don't even count that because Gordon Hayward starred for Brad Stevens at Butler, and that's why he was coming to Boston, because of Brad Stevens. So I don't even count that for Danny Ainge. So for me, when are we going to look at it? Because how many people have been clamoring to come to Boston to play for the Celtics since Doc Rivers has departed? I'm just asking. At some point, somebody's got to ask that question. And if you're Danny Ainge and you got the assets and you know no one is clamoring to come to Boston, and you haven't ingratiated yourself in terms of player relations with marquee dudes out there to convince them to want to come to Boston, you haven't done that. Why are we raving about Danny Ainge? Instead of pointing out what you haven't brought to Boston. How come you didn't pull a trigger? Masai Ujiri took a chance, fired the coach of the year, Dwayne Casey, brought in a coach in Nick Nurse. Got to give Danny Ainge credit for that because Brad Stevens was a sensational hire. But then you turn around, and then what is it Masai does? He pulls the trigger, trades DeMar DeRozan, trades him for Kawhi Leonard. Said, I'm going to go for it. Come hella high water. I'm trying to win a title. And that's what they did. So they won a title. Now Kawhi might leave. But he brought him a title. Now maybe Boston doesn't care about that because they've got 17 championships in franchise history. So it's about the long-term growth of the team as opposed to just acquiring another chip since you haven't won one since 2008. I get that. But I do find myself just looking at Danny Ainge and saying, when you going to roll the dice? Because I got news for you. Jason Tatum didn't look happy last year. He looked miserable, actually. Jaylen Brown couldn't have been happy. And if y'all think for 1 second that the mere departure of Kyrie Irving is going to resolve all of that, maybe it'll happen. I don't know. Maybe you keep Terry Rozier. He's a restricted free agent. Maybe you don't lose him now. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Boston does from here on out. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, speaking of Masai Ujiri, let me tell you what I heard about this. The Washington Wizards would love to have him, giving him in excess of $10 million a year. Some would say he'll stay in Toronto. Others will say he'll leave. The belief is that the best shot, and it's not definitive, but the best shot Toronto has at keeping Kawhi Leonard is if they keep Masai. If they lose Masai, they definitely will lose Kawhi. That's what I've heard. The other thing that I've heard, interestingly enough, just as a side tidbit, one of the major reasons Masai would be interested, assuming he would be interested, one of the major reasons he would be interested in going to Washington, D.C. is that he's heavily into politics. And obviously doing a lot to help some of the circumstances that exist in Africa is near and dear to him. And by being in the nation's capital, particularly if you're building a successful franchise, the kind of franchise that politicians actually want to come and watch play, it might bode well for him in terms of him being able to do some things for Africa using the United States to help facilitate that. How true that is, I have no idea. Just sharing to you what I was told. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. We'll be back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, when you're hiring, you don't want to waste time sorting through dozens of irrelevant resumes. You want an efficient way to get to a short list of qualified candidates. That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed.
Al Horford will decline his option.
The biggest loss for this team, Al Horford really opting out on that last year of his contract.
So the big question now for the Boston Celtics, now what, Danny Ainge?
With Vivid Seats app, it's easy to find awesome seats to any game, and all purchases are backed by their 100% guarantee. Go to the App Store or Google Play and download the app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off